Hi, this is James Barris. I hope you find this talk supports you in your practice. If you'd like to support my teaching, you can use the donate button underneath my picture on Dharma Seed to do that. Your support is greatly appreciated. So I know that yesterday Tueri started on the Brahmavihara of Mudita, a really good one. I'll say a few words about mudita, my own take on it, and hope it's not too redundant if she said some of this, but when metta faces suffering, encounters suffering, it turns into compassion. When metta turns to happiness or well-being, it becomes mudita. So metta is really the foundation for both of those other practices. It's just a heart that feels connected, that feels a sense of connection. For many people, compassion comes more naturally or more easily when the heart is touched by somebody's pain or sorrow or suffering. There's often a natural feeling of, the heart opens. There's a tenderness and there's a connection there because we all know what suffering is. Often, not always, of course, but often. And that we have these mirror neurons that neuroscientists have in recent times understood, that our brain lights up in resonance with another. When we feel connected, we're wired up for that connection. And the same is true with mudita, although it's sometimes not as obvious. Sometimes, remembering there's this line I came across from the French philosopher Montaigne. It said, there's something not altogether too displeasing in the misfortune of our friends. I'm just being real here now. And of course, our friends, the people that we root for and love, we delight in seeing their happiness. But sometimes there's the sense of when somebody else is doing great and we're not, there's a sense of, oh, well, what about me? And of course, probably most of us know the feeling of jealousy or envy, or a sense of, well, when is it going to be my turn? And then we add on an arrow or a couple of arrows on top of that. Oh, what a rotten person I am for not delighting in their happiness. So you want to be really kind and patient with whatever your reactions are when there's happiness around, especially if you hear a talk on mudita and it's just not there for you. To be really compassionate and kind and tender with yourself for just being where you're at. And if you wish you could feel happy for their happiness, but you're not there, then tune into the wish, because that's wholesome in itself. And to hold whatever is here with mindful, compassionate awareness. But that that perspective is really a misunderstanding around happiness, because there's some subtle belief that there's a limited supply of happiness. And if there's a quote on happiness, well, they've got the happiness, and that means that somehow I'm not getting my share, or there's not enough to go around. But that's not so, because we can be activated by somebody's suffering. We could be activated by their anger as well. If there was a limited supply of whatever the emotion is, if you're in a room with somebody and they're angry, do you say, "Oh, good, they've got the anger, and now I'm cool"? No, it rubs off on us. And just like anger, happiness and well-being can rub off on us. And it does, actually. This is not something that you don't know, because every one of us, I bet, knows what it's like to cheer somebody on. Whether it's in a movie and you're cheering on the heroine or the hero, and you're getting anxious if they're in a hard, difficult space, and then at the end, when everything is happy, yes. That's why we get so engrossed, because we feel it and we are rooting for them. And certainly, if you're rooting for a team, you're a sports team. I won't go there right now, but I could, but yes, come on, you can do it. And your favorite athlete, come on. All right, we'll say Steph Curry. But so we know this feeling, and we also know it for those closest to us, particularly around children. It's so easy to have that sense of delight when you see children having a great time. Often, not always, but often. Or you're going to your friend's play and they're performing, or somebody who you really care about is performing. You're saying, "Come on, you can do it." You know that feeling, right? Isn't it beautiful? And there's nothing in it for you other than just the delight in seeing somebody else do well. For me, it's the most pure generosity of heart, because there's nothing in it for you other than, yes, they did great. And when we feel it, you know how good it feels. It feels so clean. And when you don't feel it, and there's that, oh, what about me? There's that contraction. And so this is just expanding that quality of rooting and cheering And rather than thinking that there's a quota on happiness, another way you can think of it, the way I think of it is, oh, there's a little bit more happiness in the world. And this world that has so much sorrow and suffering and dukkha, the first noble truth, there's a little bit more happiness in the world. And we need all the happiness we can get. Right? So rather than thinking of a quota, delight, because that puts that energy into the field and can activate that in others. The Dalai Lama has this great line I love. He says, if our well-being and our happiness, if our happiness is restricted to our own well-being, it's very limited. But if it can get activated by the happiness around us, we increase our odds by 8 billion now. When he first said it, it was like 6 billion. That's another story. And that's just in humans. Then there's animals, which we can delight in. You probably have delighted in, if you saw a deer around here, or the turkeys, or whatever, oh, look at that. Or people fall in love with lizards even here. And they don't emote a whole lot, but it's like, oh, I hope you're happy, So we have this inherent in us, and then it's just really activating it and getting what I call a free joy ride, where, there's a little bit more happiness and well-being. And the word joy, as I said in a recent talk, can be a trigger for some people. Joy just might seem a little bit too much. So don't go for, I've got to feel joy. You can just feel a quiet delight, or a quiet ease, or a sweetness. And the same with somebody else. Don't wait until, they're just doing cartwheels and just having a grand time. If somebody is at ease and peaceful, great. Or content, or filled with love, it's being activated by another's well-being and just delighting that there's a little bit more well-being in this world. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, so it's really looking for the good, as I think I mentioned earlier. It's just having your radar out for goodness. Don't you love goodness when you see it? Just delight in goodness. And when you're feeling sympathetic joy, you're not feeling joy about somebody else's happiness because they ripped somebody off, or they did something that brought them some pleasure at somebody else's expense. You're rooting for a bit more wholesomeness in this world, a bit more goodness or kindness in this world. The near enemy of mudita, I don't know if Tuere mentioned this, the near enemy of mudita, what looks like mudita but is not as wholesome, is called overexuberance, where you get so spun out that you lose yourself, lose your center. Mudita, there is a sense of delight, but there's also a centeredness and a groundedness to it. The far enemy of mudita, the opposite, is jealousy and envy. So, so we can practice now together. And I think Tueri started off yesterday by thinking of somebody who has some success or moment or some well-being in their life, and that's the traditional way. So we'll do that, and then open to a few other categories too. So let your experience be however it is. And first, connect with yourself sitting here and be at ease. Maybe take a few deeper breaths and breathe in the goodness from this room that we're all sharing, and breathe it right into your heart. There's so much goodness right here. And then as you breathe out, just extend it out, surround yourself, and just radiate it out. And get in touch with your good intention to open your heart and extend well-wishing. And now bring someone to mind, some being to mind, who you can think of in a happy moment of theirs, or who's going through a good time, a good period in their life right now. And it can be a pet, it can be a child, it could be a friend. Somebody that you naturally love rooting for. If you can have an image of them in a moment of well-being or joy, maybe see them smiling at the finish line or at the end of the performance, or just in a moment that typifies their delight, or your dog wagging its tail, or your cat purring, or whatever. And just tune into the fact that there's a little bit more happiness right now in this world, because that's what they're feeling and putting out. And just in that sense of cheering them on. The phrase that I use usually for mudita, and you can come up with the words that work for you. One that I usually use is, "Oh, may your happiness continue." May your happiness grow. But you can use whatever words. "Oh, I'm so glad that you're happy." And just say it and rest in that, the meaning of those words. See them smiling at and being so glad that they can feel your support. Sometimes it can be helpful to say the name of that being, you know. May your happiness continue, John. May your happiness grow. I'm so glad that you're happy. And if you can access it all, if you can access it at all, then just rest in that feeling. Maybe see their smiling face, just feeling your support, and so appreciating it. Feeling your own generosity of heart, just hang out there with it. And don't try to squeeze any more out of it. You don't have to go for a gusher. Don't. It will work against you. Just even a warm well-wishing. And if it's not there, then just hold that with tenderness and just allow the mindfulness to hold whatever you're experiencing it right now. When you're saying the phrases, there aren't that many phrases, there's usually just one or two from mudita. Say it at the pace and interval where you stay connected with the meaning, but when you are feeling the feeling, then just relax into that feeling and just say the phrase every now and then to remind yourself of that intention. And having an image can be really helpful because then it's like you're showering that image with the words like a blessing. Just relax into it. Okay, and now we can go through a few categories. Now, turn it towards yourself. You can be rooting for yourself. I hope you are rooting for yourself, whether you realize it or not. You are here because you want well-being. And so just root for yourself. And you might think of yourself in a moment where you've had some ease and well-being or peace or joy since you've been here, or maybe some situation in your life where that comes naturally. And just see yourself smiling or enjoying that moment. And then wish yourself well. I'm so glad that you're happy, dear. You can say in the second person or first person, may your happiness continue, or may my happiness continue. May it grow. In a way, you're calling on the universe to support you. It's a bit like a prayer, a beautiful prayer. Just knowing that your own well-being and happiness becomes a gift to everybody in your life. If you can get just a glimpse of what it's like to root for yourself, it's a very healthy feeling. As the Buddha said, you can look all over the world and not find anyone more deserving of happiness and well-being than yourself. Mm. Okay, and then you might now include a benefactor if you work with a benefactor and the other Brahmaviharas in metta or karuna. Somebody you have a lot of gratitude for, who's enriched your life. And see them in a moment of happiness or well-being. And just cheer them on. Perhaps with a moment of gratitude. Thank you so much for being in my life. May your happiness continue. May it grow. You might see them smiling back at you, just feeling your well-wishing. Don't force it. Just invite it. Just from an intention of generosity and goodwill. And gratitude. Okay, now we can move to a dear friend category. It might be like the first one, but it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's having a wonderful time. Everybody has moments of sorrow and moments of joy. So pick a dear friend and tune into delighting in their happiness. Of course, friendships can be complicated, but that's okay. You're just tuning into moments of well-being and joy for them. And again, see them in a happy moment. Get in touch with why they're important to you, perhaps, and that you really do want to wish them well, and then send that to them. Have an image and use their name. Oh, may your happiness continue, or may your happiness grow. Or I really love seeing you happy. Just rest in that, relax in it, enjoy it. Okay, now we can move to the neutral category. You might pick someone here on this retreat, maybe somebody sitting in your area that you don't have strong feelings one way or the other. Maybe near you or in front of you or behind you, or somebody that you noticed on the retreat, but that's fairly neutral. And just tune into them. Here they are on the retreat and practicing sincerely. Just root for them for a few moments. May you be happy and may your happiness grow. Okay, and now we can expand the neutral category to include everyone here in this room. Maybe not everyone is neutral to you, but we can open it up and just tune into the field of goodwill here. Not just wishing for people's happiness, but delighting in it when it's here. May our happiness or joy continue and grow. And you might reflect on the fact that if others are wishing that as well, you're included in that. So you're both sending and receiving as part of this field. Just wishing well and delighting in our happiness growing. And then finally, from this room, just sending it out, extending it out, radiating it out to all the creatures on the Spirit Rock land and all the staff supporting us. And continuing to extend out, radiating out to bless everyone near and far. Just delighting in any happinesses in the world right now. May happiness continue and may it grow. Tune into that wholesome wish and delight in that. You might think of everybody in the world right now who's in a moment of ease and well-being and delight in that and wish it to continue and grow. And then lastly, just coming back to ourselves and feeling a connection as you sit here and appreciate yourself for extending these thoughts. And wish yourself well. So don't force it at all. If you're finding yourself getting contracted or struggling, time to just relax, hold whatever's there with some mindfulness, kind awareness. And with any of these Brahma Viharas, you go back to whatever is easy for you. So if the mudita isn't happening, go back to, feeling compassion or feeling some just basic metta. So it's not a test or a struggle or anything like that. And when you can practice this around here, just as you're passing somebody, not making eye contact, but just wishing them well. And if they look like they're at ease, if you can sense from the corner of your eye or in the dining room, just tune. It's really looking for the good. That's what it comes down to, just looking for the good and seeing, there's a little bit more goodness right now in the world. So it's almost time to go. Maybe if there's any question that might come up from that. Yeah. So let's see. If somebody here, oops, be careful here. Yeah. Here it is. Great, thank you. So, here, right over there.
Thank you for that, James. My name is Ty. I'm struggling with this idea of joy and happiness around what we're talking about as kind of this like craving or clinging or egoic states. So imagining people, getting, a great job or finding a relationship or having a great meal, or myself, when I'm like kind of daydreaming about like, this is going to be so great. And then I kind of cut it off because, that's egoic and it's clinging. So how do you work with, wanting to bring joy, to the great things in life without this attachment to the external?
Yeah, when, in one of the earlier talks, or maybe it was my last talk, it's just, as the Buddha says, being, to maintain a wholesome state, not by grasping. As soon as you grasp or have an attachment, it's just turned into an unwholesome state because there's contraction. But it's actually tuning into the wholesomeness of that wish and just delighting in that wish. You're not getting into, I hope this happens, and if it doesn't, then I failed. But it's just that pure generous heart that wishes well, that's very wholesome. So you're putting it out as a possibility and then letting go of you did it or you didn't. You're just feeling the wholesomeness of that heart. Make sense?
Yeah. So the wish of the happiness without the clinging on to this needs to happen, or
Yeah. Not if you're clinging on to this needs to happen, dukkha.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it? There's one over there.
Thank you so much. My name is Heather. I learned, obviously, from the Tibetan, the rejoicing in others' good fortune, but also I learned from Thai that joy is seeing the cause and conditions for well being that are present and they don't have to have come together. So it's like I have eyes that can touch the blue sky, well being is possible. I rejoice in my good fortune. Or you have arms and, a loved one's available, hugging is
Yeah.
possible. I
Yeah.
celebrate.
Yeah.
That just not a jam here? Or?
What was that? What was that?
Is there a subtle difference or that I never saw? Or is it just not, we're just not kind of like using the language?
No, once you start looking for all the goodness around and all the blessings around, it's all around. So it's not necessarily waiting for somebody to do cartwheels. It's appreciating, oh, I have eyes that see colors. I have a heart that feels, oh, that can bring happiness just there, just in the ordinary things. Einstein has this line. He says, there's two ways to go through this life. One is seeing nothing as a miracle, and the other is seeing everything as a miracle.
Thank you, James.
Go for the latter. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. And that's enough. Yeah. I can do it. Thank you. So, what a good way to go through the day, huh? Like I was saying in talk a few nights ago, we can be on the lookout for what's wrong, or we can be on the lookout for what's right, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, look for what's not wrong. And when there's moments of rightness or wholesomeness or well-being, great. That's a moment of well-being. Why miss it? So, okay, good luck.
Thank you for listening. To learn how you can support the teachers and Dharma Seed, please visit dharmaseed.org/donate.